Good evening, everyone. It's August 15th, and welcome to RVing in New England. And we are delighted to have a special guest tonight, Terry Cooper, who'll be joining us shortly. And I'm going to drop the graphic down and bring up Mr. DePietro, because we got a lot of local activity in the month of August. Many of you have seen the hi, John.
Hi, Bob. I admire your shirt. I think the color and the design is.
Nice. If we can get up there, we spent a few bucks this week, and we got some RVing in New England shirts. So we're now, I guess we're now official. It's not NBC or CBS, but it's NERVDA, and we were delighted
We're better than those other two companies that you mentioned.
That's true. This is real news.
Real news.
Yeah. Well, we've been posting a lot of the awesome August videos. We just got almost all the dealers done. I think we've got just one or two more dealers that we'll probably pick up next week. But, to a person, I was really surprised. But every one of them came out the gate really strong August 1st. They're having great months. And what are you finding out?
I got on the road on August 2nd, which was, 2 weeks ago yesterday. Yeah. And I had dealers telling me that based upon the carryover from July, they were going to set a record. Then second, third, and fourth, when I was out again, I had people on the fourth day of the month saying that this is going to be a record month. And the other thing that they also told me was this, and it's very interesting, and it's very appropriate that we've got our guest with us tonight. They said to me without question, if I only had the help in the back in the service department to handle the business that I've got coming, already booked, I'd be a happy person. But you know what? Interestingly, you went out and found a great guest that can do a good job in alleviating that issue of not enough help in the RV industry.
That's true, and it's going to be a great show. We got a lot of dealer activity this weekend, because based on some of we saw on the awesome August videos. But let me quickly run through. And we're going to be starting to post the awesome August deals on Friday. But we got Vermont Country Camper and New Hampshire Country Campers they're continuing their manufacturer's clearance sale. Lee's Family Trailer Sales up in Windham, Maine has their August fifth wheel and camper sale with cash back at the time of closing. So if you haven't seen Dan and his people, get up there. Chris Andro, Jason and Michelle Andro. Chris Hemlock, I just renamed the dealership down at Hemlock Hill in Southington, Connecticut. They've got their inventory reduction sale going on. The Flag Boys over in Oxford and West Boylston, they're finishing up their 2018 model year sale, and they still doing they just announced Class C rentals this year. Campers Inn and their 4 locations in New England have their August Adventure Blowout, which is going on right now at all 4 locations. Big sale coming up this weekend and next week, and I'll be posting a video for Longview RV. Cold Springs RV hit the weatherman the wrong way. The last couple of weekends, they had their 40th birthday bash. They had rain the first weekend, so they decided to have it the second weekend. They got rain. They got really washed out the second weekend. So they're going to extend their deals through the next 2 weekends. So we'll be posting a lot of information on that. And, of course, they just opened up their brand new body shop, which we posted. So that's going to be some exciting things. And Man's RV has a huge end of summer savings sale with Jeff Wozniak. And Arlington RV, I saved the best for last, I guess, for the A's anyways. They have their 70th anniversary sale, zero down event. They're calling it a zero down event. But they got something special on Saturday morning, John. Tell them what's up for Saturday morning.
Outside of me being there Saturday morning, one of the special things when I talked with Jay a couple weeks ago, we couldn't talk about it last week because it was too secret. We didn't want any other dealership to try to copy him. And I don't know how this is going to work, but those bubble machines that you see like at amusement parks or stuff like that? He's got 6 gigantic bubble machines, which he's going to put up on top of the dealership and just let them go. And if you catch a bubble,
you're going to blow bubbles?
There's going to be some discount or prize. Now, if Jay's lucky, all the wind will be blowing toward Narragansett Bay and nobody will catch anything. But evidently, he's seen this concept work before. I'm I've got to get video. Actually, I will have video because we'll have videos at 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10, 10:30, et cetera.
Yeah.
So, you know what? 70 years in any business is amazing.
Yeah.
But 70 years in a family-owned business in this day and age of mergers and acquisitions and buyouts and takeovers, that's something to be said. And Bob, as we talked about before, there are several dealers in New England that have been around for 25, 35 years. You know, if I start mentioning one of them, I'll forget. And then, you know, like we forgot to mention our friend Tony at Crowley a few weeks ago so we don't want to get anybody upset. But
Tony's getting more publicity after I screw up than he ever would have got.
It's just like Sam Adams is getting more. Sam Adams' beer is getting more publicity now that what a politician made a negative comment.
It's crazy.
Nobody said anything. But you know, let's look at who we got in our lineup here of guests already. We got Jason's up in New Hampshire.
Let's wait to introduce them, and let's bring up Cooper. And you'll notice I'm going to bring the man of the hour up here. And you'll notice that I have welcome Cooper, because those of us who have affectionately known this man for quite some time in the RV industry, we refer to him as Cooper and his wife as Lady E. And so we are okay calling him Cooper. I did not do a typo there. Cooper, welcome to the show, and we're going to tell you who's on here in a little bit. But first, why don't you tell us how you get into this crazy business and how you got to where you are today?
I needed a job. No, seriously, I started out right out of high school.
Thank you for joining us today. Next week, our guest will be.
Now, I started working for this company called Skyline, building these things. And, you know, it's one of those things where you say, you know, I'll never do that again. I'll never, ever, ever, ever do that. So I went off and joined the Army. It's amazing when you get out how you seem to go back to the same thing. And so through things that have happened, the little common thread woven through my life all these many years, it's been RV. And I don't know, you know, how did you guys get into it? We could ask you the same question. You know, what possessed you guys to take the nosedive?
Oh, wait, this is our show. We asked a question. No, Bob has the most interesting story. I just got in because I bought one and I wanted to find out more about it. But Bob has the interesting backstory. Yeah,
unlike a lot of people that work in this industry, we are active RVers and have been for, well, John's probably going on 25 years. I've been an active RVer for 40 years, and I get into it in 1996 writing for RV News. And
there you go.
Been writing for that, and then did some writing with Greg Gerber, set up the RV Insights Consulting Company, and took over NERVDA back in 2013 when they're in a little bit of distress. But we've got a tremendously strong association now with some great dealers. And
Time out. You didn't take over NERVDA. You saved NERVDA.
That's
from the wrecking ball.
Well, look at who came on. Look, you know, we're getting comments on our red shirts. Don Polk says, "Hi, John and Bob. I love the red shirts." But Walter, our good friend Walter, he manages to work good Sam into. Walter's coming in as the incoming state director in Massachusetts.
Walter, we have a solution to that.
Hey, Walter, you don't take over till January.
Yeah, but Bob, we have a solution to Walter's suggestion. Sponsor the show.
Right. Get
Bob will put a Good Sam logo right on his forehead because there's nothing to cover it.
That's true.
A lot of room up there.
Yeah, there's a lot of room.
Yeah.
And we got the Rhode Island State Director Jason Cole, and I'm sure his wife Lisa is with him. He's in New Hampshire, but he was drowning today. He posted a lot of pictures today because we still have a lot of wet weather up here. And Jerry Plant has made his way to east of Toledo, Ohio. I think he's going to Seattle. He's on an RV trip out to Seattle.
The Route 2 trip.
The Route 2 trip, right? Exactly. So Cooper, which of the many things that you're doing might you want to start out with today? I mean, I've got one that I think is somewhat of a. I asked you the question, but then I'll put something else up there. Tell us about the RV Tech course and the home study course.
Okay. Well, what happened was about 5 years ago, I teamed up with Work Camper News. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not.
Yep, Steve Anderson. Yep.
They are the folks that, you know, they help a lot of folks find jobs so they can travel. There's a lot of folks out there, they want to do the experience, but they need to supplement the income, or maybe they want to start a business on the road. So Steve Anderson and his crew, and believe it or not, we connected on a tweet. And long and short of it, we spent some time with him and said, he told me, he said, I keep having these people come to me and asking these questions about how do I work on this? How do I do that? And like I told him, I said, Steve, if we could just show people that 80% of the things that are wrong with these units are easy to access and easy to fix, plain and simple. And I said, I know that sounds like a cliche, but it's not. That's just the way it is. But many times they need to be educated. So for the last 5 years, we've been traveling across the country. Lady E and I live full-time in an RV. Right now, we're living in a DRV, a big full house, toy hauler. Office is in the back. I think you can see behind me.
Yep.
That's the office.
Oh, you are in an RV.
Yes, live full-time.
I was wondering.
5 years,
yeah. So you use the garage as your office?
That's correct. That's correct. I was thinking about those guys, when we sit down with them and say, look, this is what we want. We want the full living experience. But we also need an office. And so what they did is they took that back 10 foot, turned it into an office. And so push the button, desks go up to the top. So, but anyway, we traveled for the last 5 years. And what we found is that there are a lot of smart people out there. A lot of folks want to learn. They just need somebody to kind of take them by the hand and guide them. So what we would do is we'd go into an RV park and we would rent the meeting room and maybe 20 to 30 RV sites. And these folks would come in with their RV. And so basically the RV was their lab. And so we would do a 5-day training class. And so that's what we've been doing. Now, what has happened is more and more people are saying, well, you happen to be in Salem, Oregon this month. And next month you say you're going to be in Colorado. But I can't get there. I can't get off of vacation. So what we did is that in 1 year, we sat down and we recorded every one of those classes. I mean, basically put the cameras in the room, told the students, say, hey, this is what we're doing. And we recorded every one of those items. And then we took the best of the best and made a home study option. So now what folks can do is they can either come spend 5 days with us at a live location, or if they say, well, what I want to do is kind of get a jump start on this thing. So what we'll do is they'll buy the home study option. And then if they decide they want to go a step further, then they come spend 5 days with us. So, same material, same hands-on experience, same hands-on lab, because the whole thing that we have found out is that people are not interested in the lecture. They want to get out there and do. They want to put their hands on it. And so that's the whole experience. And when you have a Friday show up and everybody's over there smiling because, one, they've worked on their water heater, got that going, we've helped them get some electrical issues resolved, then they feel like they had a good week.
Interesting.
Cooper, one thing that you had mentioned in your introductory comments was that some things are simple to fix, and don't require a trip to either the manufacturer or back to the dealership. And just yesterday, in a conversation I had with Mark Lebrecht, who's the owner of Diamond RV here in Massachusetts, his sales manager, Bob Lafreniere, was camping in his own RV, and he couldn't find power into the unit, even though it was plugged in. And Mark said, look, go back out to the power and just check the circuit breaker and make sure it's on and off, which he did. Okay. An example of something simple that Absolutely. If you don't know these little tips and tricks, you might, go through too much agita. I don't know if you know what agita is, but it's
no.
It's what do you call it, Bob? It's
heartburn. Italian heartburn.
It's Italian heartburn. In other words, it's worrying about stuff that you don't need to worry about.
Right.
Okay.
So from that perspective, you're so true in that.
I had a gentleman come in and take our class. This guy was 82 years old. And he told me, he said, the only reason I'm here is because I've got some more RVing left in me. And he had a Class C, a little road trek. And this gentleman lived in it. And then he proceeded to tell me he'd had this thing in a service center about, I think he said 14 or 15 months earlier. And he got it out and he said nothing worked. He said, I couldn't get the furnace to work. I can't get the air conditioner to work. And so we were talking about it. And he said, can you come out and help me? So, we typically try to spend some time with each one of them. So we went out there with him. Now, his thermostat for this thing was buried in the back out there by his bunk. And he said, reached over there and started running the slider switch up and down. So he said, so I'm going from 50 degrees up to 80 degrees, and I can't get the furnace to come on. And I looked over there and I said, well, let's put that switch right there that says on, off, furnace, air. let's put that on furnace. Flipped it to furnace, raised it up, and came on. And he looked at me. He said, "You've got to be kidding." He said, "I've been freezing my ass off here all winter long, and all I needed to do was turn the furnace on." He said, "Now, what about the air conditioner?" I said, "Well, let's let it warm up here a little bit." And I said, "Then once it warms up, then we'll turn on and see." So let that furnace run. I mean, we were busting a sweat about that time. So I said, "Now put that switch right there in the AC mode." He flipped it down to AC and the air conditioner come on. And he told me, he said, "I have been living in this thing, dying." And he said, "Only because somebody never showed me how to turn." He said, "Because this is a new thermostat. There's service work I had done to it. I had to work on the air conditioner and they put a new thermostat in. Nobody showed me how to work on it." So like I say, it's that simple stuff. It really is.
So, Terry, I mean, I'll still call you Terry because I have trouble calling people their last name.
Okay.
In the educational aspect of the various programs that you have, even a consumer, there's probably even reason for a regular consumer, even though they don't want to work on other people's units. I mean, are there any courses that you have that are just for your own self-use as opposed to trying to make a business out of it?
There is. And what we have is a lot of folks will come and we actually have people come to the course and don't even own an RV. And like one lady told me, she said, "Before I go out and start looking, I want to know something about what I'm buying." And so we have a lot of folks like that. We have a lot of folks that come in and say, "Look, I know that this is the pathway to become an inspector or become a technician, but I'm not interested in either one of those. I just want to know how my unit works. I just want to know how to kind of take care of myself." And we see that a lot with the solos, particularly the women. A lot of women come to classes because and I had one lady say, "I appreciate you not talking down to me." Because many times that's what the ladies say is that when some guy, and maybe the guy doesn't even realize he's doing it, but she perceives that he's talking down to her. So she wanted, this particular lady wanted to know more. And I'm seeing more and more folks that are that way. And so people just want general knowledge. People don't want to be ignorant. They don't want to be taken advantage of. They just want to they bought this RV to have a good time and to make some memories. They didn't buy it to have problems. And so that's what we're there for.
You bring up an interesting point on the aspect of talking down, to people and et cetera. And when we were at Winnebago 2-3 weeks ago, there was a group there that were putting on a seminar called Women Drivers.
Wow.
And they said the best way for a woman to learn how to drive, whether it's an A or a B or a C, is to be taught by someone that's not their husband. And it was peer-to-peer teaching, women-to-women teaching. Mm-hmm. And you bring the same thing up. I will admit to being guilty if my wife ever decided to learn that she wanted to drive. I would not be the one to teach her because it would probably put an irreparable strain on our marriage.
Well, you do need to maintain that relationship.
I'll second that, and the same thing applies for my marriage. I would never try to teach May how to drive a motorhome. I threw up another picture there, Terry. You got some. Why don't you give the backdrop, because you purchased a campground and you got this big red building now. So give us a little flavor for what got you down there in Texas, and now you're a landowner, and you got a nice building. Tell us what's there. I got a couple of other pictures I'll slide up in there.
It looks like a Bob Evans restaurant.
Well, I'll tell you a secret. If you go back and look at the Clydesdale horse barns,
mm-hmm.
The Budweiser Clydesdales, take a look at the horse barns.
You got them up
I see some similarities there.
Really?
Yeah. I will. Can I go ahead and just give you a little piece of trivia so that way when you come to visit?
Sure.
The men's restroom is going to be, it's very, very unique. The urinals are made out of beer kegs.
Beer kegs.
Beer kegs.
That's different.
Well, of course. You want some guy to be standing in front of that urinal to be thinking, "Man, I have never seen anything like this before." And the artwork on the walls is, well, it's different. And I'll just leave it at that.
It's pretty. The urinal stuff it's pretty deep. You must have paid a consultant to come up with that concept.
Well, you'll appreciate it when you guys come, because I'm going to open the invitation. It's, hey, you're welcome. The doors are open for all you guys to come on down. No, what has happened as we were traveling these last a little over 5.5 years now, as we've been traveling, we have begun to realize that more and more of these investment groups are buying up these RV parks. These real estate investment trust companies and some of these other big conglomerates are buying up the parks. As a matter of fact, if you have an RV park that's over 100 sites, you're on their radar. And so what has happened because of these investment groups moving in and buying them, they've got to figure out how they can squeeze every dollar they can out of the facilities. So many times the meeting room that normally we would rent is not available anymore because they've turned it into something else. And many times the 20 or 30 RV sites that we would use while we're doing our classes are no longer available because they want to put full-time RVers in there. Because there's a lot of people that are living in these units as if they're, that's their home. And maybe they're a contractor working at, say, we see a lot of stuff around a lot of military bases where these guys are contractors working for the military, and they're there and they know they're going to be there for a year or 2 years. So they won't even buy a home. They'll just buy an RV and live in it. So what's happening is these real estate investment trust companies, what they're doing is converting them. We were having more and more trouble finding a place that we could do our classes, or show up and they say, well, I know you booked us last year, you put your deposit down, but you can only have the classroom for 3 of the 5 days. Well, it's kind of late when you got 20 some odd people coming for class, So we began to start looking around, and we were told that there were no RV parks of the caliber we were looking for. We needed them to be close to a big city. We needed them to be of a certain standard. I mean, I don't mean to come across as being a snob, but there's a certain standard people want. They expect Wi-Fi. They expect they need space and everything. And so what we began to look for is it wasn't available. Well, about this time, our friend Greg Gerber sent me a note and said, Cooper, I was at TACO, which is the Texas Association of Campground Operators, and he said I was having a conversation with somebody. He said, there's 2 RV parks coming available in Texas? I said, no. And he told me which ones. And so, how you do the Google Earth thing, I got on and looked and thought, interesting. Well, the one that caught my attention was the one in Athens, Texas. Now, Athens is exactly 72 miles southeast of downtown Dallas. So Lady E and I kind of went on a little reconnaissance and stayed over in the park and thought, only would an RV park have the name that really kind of clicked. It's called the Texan RV Park. And I thought, this is going to work. The Texan RV Park for the Texas RV Professor.
I bet a lot of thought went into that name.
I guess so. It sure fit us. And then
it was the same consultant that got the urinals.
Go on, guys, give me a break, would you?
When we get on the road, you got to be careful,
But anyway, and so I was talking to Steve Anderson. I said, Steve, are you interested in jumping in? He said, absolutely. He said, I need a training place for our work campers as well. And he said, since we've been traveling all over the country, he said, we can do this and we can turn it in. We need a training facility. So when we looked at this place, there was 5 acres of ground in front, the very front of the property, in front of this very large, we call it a stock pond here in Texas, but I think I've heard everybody call it also, no, that's a lake, but whatever. And so we looked at it, and you know that you're on the right track when you get this phone call that just kind of knocks your socks off. We had bought the RV park, and it was making money day one, but it just, all we had is the clubhouse. And the problem we had is there was events already being booked. So we were having a little conflict there. So we brought in what we call the Little Red Schoolhouse, which basically is a 2-room, 1-bath, mobile classroom, like what kind you see at the high schools. But we started filling that up. And so we said, okay, we're outgrowing the two buildings we have. Well, we were out for dinner one night and my phone rang, and it was some past students that I had. They'd been gone to the program about 2 years earlier, and said, you don't really know, we never really shared everything about ourselves, but we happen to be executors of a very large trust fund. And we understand that you want to build a training facility there in Texas. I said, yeah. She said, well, here's my dilemma. She said, I'm looking for a nonprofit organization that we can team up with, because I have a group of missionaries that we're not able to place in foreign countries because these countries won't allow these people to come in because they don't have any technical skills. Would you be willing to work with us and do training on solar? Yeah. Would you be willing to do training on 12 volts, 120 volts? Yeah. What about water systems and some sewer treatment? Well, yeah. She said, well, if you would work with us on this, we will give you the money to build your facility.
And immediately upon regaining consciousness, what did you say?
Exactly. When and what do you need done? Now, guys, and you need to understand where the Coopers come from. We are people of faith. We believe that we have a destiny, and our destiny is many times outlined for us. And I believe the Lord leads us and guides us through situations. And this was one of those. When these folks came up to us, I mean, guys, I don't have to tell you what kind of money a facility like this costs, but let's just say it's substantial.
And it got it going. I mean, these pictures here, are those pictures current, or are those?
As a matter of fact, these photos are very current. They just finished building it outside, and we're doing all the, we're bringing in 3-phase electrical, so that way we can gear up to run welding, machine shop, solar systems. I mean, this has got to be state of the art, and that's what they've asked for. And so
I see that your garage doors are high enough to actually fit an RV in.
Isn't that amazing? And wide enough.
You'd be amazing the number of dealerships that can't fit product indoors.
I know. Now you notice this door right here on the side, and you see the green canopy over it.
Yeah.
To the left. If you pull into that door, what there will be on the right-hand side, there is a classroom, a 30-foot by 30-foot classroom, but there's a stairway leading to an observation deck, so your students can go to the observation deck and look over the rail and look onto the roof.
The roof.
So, how do you get 30 students to look at a roof? Because when you can only get 1 or 2 of them at a time on the roof, and some of them have heights issues.
Yep.
So that is an area where we can bring the unit in.
Well, you know what? You're obviously thinking ahead on that, because as we talked last week with Seal Tech and other issues, there are a vast majority of RV repair issues stem from activity on the roof or from the roof.
Terry, let me put something up here, because I want to get back into the types of courses, but you did, you and Ronnie put together a special report with RV Daily Report called The Battle of the RV Techs. And, we all know that we don't have enough techs. We don't have enough certified techs or master certified techs. And it's an issue that the industry is addressing on many different levels. But you did a whole report, that RV Daily Report, about that. And a lot of that plays into the investment that you've made in 2 of your other groups. So is this a good time to talk about the NRVIA? And I don't understand, quite honestly, you got the National RV Academy, but then you got the NRVIA. So explain that, and then I'll throw up the RV Inspection Connection. How does that work? And I think consumers can go to it along with technicians, but dealers can also send their technicians there. But a technician, if he really was interested in self-improvement, could take a week's vacation and go down and take the class on his own. And one of the things that you were explaining to us before is, because you're in a campground, you have a lot of customers or a lot of units that you can work on for customers who are in the campground if they've got a problem. So you've got a beautiful building and a classroom, but you got this other outdoor experience where you could just tie that whole thing together. So I'll shut up and let you talk about that.
Yeah. Well, you have to understand that our first step was with the inspectors and to do the RV maintenance, we called it the Triad program. And basically what it was is to train individuals to take care of themselves, and then to have individuals that maybe wanted to start a business, and then other individuals that might want to become technicians. And so we started the National RV Inspectors Association. Now, we had some people say, you cannot train an RV inspector in 5 days to do inspections. Don't tell them, okay? They're already doing it. Now, a level 1 inspector is someone who's going to do a VIN verification for an extended service agreement company. They have enough knowledge to go out there and look at it and fill out a 2-page questionnaire and say, yes, this is the unit that the bank is going to finance, that sort of thing. But if they want to become what we call a level 2, now that's doing a home inspection for an RV. That requires another 5 days because you're going to learn software, you're going to learn how to scope. But here's the thing. All of that has to be built upon the core knowledge, the RV maintenance stuff. And that's what we've been doing for the last 5.5 years, is teaching the core and then build off of it. Now, you'd flashed up RV Inspection Connection.
Yeah.
One of the things that we found out real quick is that how do you train somebody to do inspections if the people come to you and the people that are going to be doing your educating, your instructors, don't have knowledge themselves? So what we did is we started a company called RV Inspection Connection. We were doing inspections. We ran that thing almost a year, doing inspections and then hiring some of these different inspectors, the cream of the crop to be exact, to come in and do the inspections. And then what we found is that once we got those guys up and running, we had some instructors that we could pull out of the ranks. We actually closed down RV Inspection Connection, and all we're using it for now is to help people find an inspector to do inspections. So RV Inspection Connection right now doesn't make money. It was there to start the learning process because we knew we were starting an industry and there wasn't anybody doing it, you know?
Hey, Terry, we talk about inspections for an RV, and I know we've talked with other people about this in the past. But if someone's buying a home, they would probably never even consider going through with the purchase unless they had a home inspection done on their behalf at their cost prior to, subject, the closing always subject to a home inspection. Mm-hmm. Doesn't it make sense that if someone's even spending 30, 40, 50, up to $150,000, $200,000 on an RV, that they should have it inspected? And second part of the same question, are these inspectors, is it really only for buying used RVs, or are people considering having their brand new RV inspected before they take delivery of it?
Okay, well, let's start at the beginning with the first one. Guys, this really got started from a phone call from a banker. It really did. Now, I was working at a technical college in Waco, and so that school allowed me to take off on Friday, Saturday, and some Sundays, and I do inspections, and I was making more money doing inspections for banks and attorneys and individuals than I was making at school. But I got a phone call from this attorney. He said, Cooper, he said, my client is in the bathroom right now, and they need to talk to you. He said, I don't understand you guys in the RV business. He said, if I'm going to loan money on a house, by golly, like you said, we're not going to fund this thing until I see that inspection report and it meets criteria. Things are taken care of. He said, if I'm going to loan money on a boat that's going to cost over $50,000, I'm going to get a marine survey. And he said, so who do I talk to about getting an inspection on an RV? He said, I've got this woman here. And he said, she is the wife of my best friend. Now, he's passed away, so I kind of feel like I have an obligation to look after her. And he said, she doesn't need to borrow the money, but I'm going to loan it to her just because she's got the collateral sitting in the bank. But he said, all she can tell me about is how she's going to go out to California and visit her sister, and they're going to renew their relationship, and they're going to travel up and down the West Coast and going to do all these fabulous things. And he said, I asked her this question, well, tell me about this motorhome you're talking about, because it's going to be almost $300,000. And he said, she could not tell me, one, the name of it, the age of it. He said, Cooper, seriously, the only thing this woman can tell me is it has pretty curtains and she loves the decor.
That's
and
scary.
He said, this concerns me, because he said, I know nothing about this unit. And he said, I'm afraid she's going to take my collateral out of state, and it's going to break down, and she's going to fly home, and I got to figure out how to get it back here so I can dispose of it. Can you help me? That's what started this whole process and kicked it off. And then when I shared with Steve Anderson, he told me, he said, Cooper, I'm having the exact same phone calls. He said, I'm getting it from the children of mom and dad who are hanging up the keys, or maybe one of the parents has passed away and this child is the executive of the will, and they're trying to figure out, what am I going to do with this mobile home or this motorhome or this fifth wheel or whatever it is. And so people are looking for answers. When we got into this, our full intent was to do nothing but used. And it was all based on conversations with some extended service agreement companies. And if I mention their name, you know exactly which ones I'm talking about because we see them. They sponsor a lot of activity. And they told me, said, look, over 60% of the used units that are bought and sold never go through a dealership. They're bought and sold from one individual to another. He said, off of Craigslist, Trader, RVT. He said, so we never see them. He said, we can't put policies on those because we don't know anything about them. He said, that's an unknown dimension for us. He said, however, if you can bring me an inspection report, and we had given him the outline and shown him what we were doing. He said, if you can bring me this inspection report, I can get you extended service on this thing without any problem at all. And so that's what kicked it off. Well, here we are rocking and rolling and doing things. And what we found was that people would contact us and say, I've got this motor home I want to look at. And we'd say, now, we're going to do the inspection. These are the 4 major categories that we're going to look at. We're going to look at life safety, make sure that you're not going to get killed when you move into it. Major concerns, make sure that when you buy this thing, the first thing you're not going to have to do is buy a new refrigerator or put new tires on it because that's cost. Or minor concern, things that, hey, you need to save some money because you're going to be replacing this. Or just give me some outline of what's going on. So we put that program together and we're rocking and rolling with it and began to have dealers pick up on it. Now, I had one dealer call me and he said, this is the greatest sales tool I've ever laid my hands on. He said, I take this and have you guys come in and do the inspection on it for me. And he said, I sit down at the dining room table inside that RV and lay that report out and said, here's what we did. We had an independent third party look at this unit for us. They even pulled fluid samples, did blood test on the oil, the coolant, and the transmission. And here's the things that we found, and here's the work orders where we did the repair. And the salesman told me, he said, there is little or no negotiation after that.
Interesting.
And so,
you know what? We should point out that while you're mentioning this, I'm looking at the comments, and Mrs. E is in the other. She's back in the office, and she's commenting as well. Feel free to call her. Of course, she's listening, so she can hear what I'm saying. She can come through those curtains right back there to show her that this is not just your show. This is a program where both of you are actively involved. So if she wants to, if she feels that her hair is okay and her makeup's okay,
if she wants to come back outside the curtains, that's what she looks like, right?
Okay, guys, I'll be the first to admit I married up. Okay, I really did. I married up.
You're not alone, Cooper. You're not alone. No.
I was going to bring it up, but whatever. But let me
go ahead,
Bob.
Wynn just had a good comment here. Cooper, I'm going to let you answer that. Can you read that? Okay.
Well, here's our dilemma, Wynn. The banking has been real tough because when we sit down and talk to some of the executives at the banking industry, what they told us is that, you know what, RV owners are not a big financial risk. Most RV owners have very good credit rating, and so our repo is not very high. And so they kind of looked at it from the standpoint, it's not a big deal. Until it becomes an issue, then we'll look at it. Now, that surprised me. It really did. I thought they would be all over it, but they haven't been.
That is a valid point that you bring up. RVIA does a lender's report I think it's every 2 years. And they go through the history. RV loans are phenomenal loans for credit unions and banks and the like, because people, they like their RVs. They're going to try to keep them up, and they want to go traveling with that. So that is a big part of it.
Yeah, and they're usually responsible homeowners, either for those that are part-timers, but even the full-timers, they've got equity because they've sold that house.
Oh,
and
it's amazing to me how many people, that old thing that we always talked about is that if you buy an RV and you really enjoy the lifestyle, you'll buy 7 in your lifetime. Well, these boomers come along, like you just said, John, that are selling this house. They're jumping right in at top tier. They're not buying that travel trailer, that slide-in camper. That's not what they're buying at all.
Yeah.
No,
they're buying 100 even a Class B motorhome, $120,000. And I mention this at my seminars all the time, is that there's no rules anymore. For years we thought, well, you'd pop up when you get married and you have kids, you buy a trailer, and then you get more money, you buy a fifth wheel, then you retire and you buy a motorhome. that's long gone. I mean, I have people come up to me after my seminars and say, you know, we listened to your seminar last year and we went out and we bought ourselves an RV. Really, what'd you buy? Well, I bought a $400,000 Dutch Star, and that was their first. They'd never been camping, and never been camping. Loved the unit, and they said that's what we bought. So yeah, they're all over the place on that.
Did they ask you to come over and show them how things worked?
Yeah,
Right. That happen all the time. I really do.
It is, and it's an issue, right? It is an issue now because the dealers are so busy. They're pushing everything. The manufacturers are pushing stuff out. The dealers are pushing stuff through. So yeah, there's a whole issue of that education and training. And I like the component where the consumers can go down and take the same class and figure out 80% of that stuff. But one of the other things, if I can jump back into the inspectors, well, the RV inspectors or those that have their own companies, for many of our dealers who cannot get enough technicians, I've often said to them, why wouldn't you want to know who all of the independent technicians and all the mobile technicians are? Because if there was somebody in the area that was specializing in propane systems, but they wanted to remain independent and mobile, then it would be incumbent upon the dealer to know who these people are, because they wouldn't have to hire a propane specialist. Every coach that comes in is not propane, but do you want a technician that isn't trained on propane to try to diagnose the problem versus getting somebody who's qualified? So these inspectors, some of them are qualified as mobile units also. Now, I understand that if you do the inspection, you cannot do the repair, right? That's
correct. You have 1 year. You have 1 year. If you do the inspection, the inspector cannot do the repair. And it's there to keep I'm gonna say keep the dog out of the fight, keep the unbiased, because that inspector needs to come in and say, this is the way it looks right now at this time. And guys, I will tell you, it's amazing how many of these customers will reword the question different ways. Basically, what they're saying is, should I buy this thing? And you put on your little tutu and you just do the dance and say, these are the things, and we'll go through your report and talk about it, but I can't tell you, only you know. And that's hard, because you'd like to tell them, run away from that one, but you can't do that. That's not our position to do.
Hey, Cooper, one of the points that Rob Wilhelm, I don't know if he's one of your guys. I haven't seen him before, but he made a comment about some dealers will not.
Half these people tonight, I think, are students or former students. It looks like they got an old gang get together here.
Right. So it says some dealers will not. Bob, if you can find that and put it up, some dealers will not allow independent inspectors. Now, let me ask you this question. Can a prospective buyer at a dealer, that's buying from a dealership, generally bring that inspector in to check out the unit prior to purchase and sale, or is that only in real estate? I mean, it's
done every day. And the thing is that there are some dealers that say, yes, bring them in, and then that way we can find out if there's anything there that we've overlooked. And those dealers, no problem. The ones I always shy away from when they said, absolutely not, we're not going to allow it. And I've had a couple of customers come to me and say, you know what? The way the guy acted, it kind of concerns me what the unit was like.
He was hiding something.
And then we have others that say, for insurance reasons, we can't let them on. I say, well, they have $1 million liability insurance policy, so that's okay too. But some of the dealers will even go as far as say, you know what? We have an RV park close by. We'll just deliver it there and have it hooked up so it's ready to go. And then that way, you're not interfering with anything going on with our sales and service lot. And, and the customer's going to be there with you anyway. And so, there's different variables there. Now, as you guys are talking about Rob Wilhelm, Rob is one of those individuals that has found a niche market with new units. He's gone to Elkhart and has done more inspections than any of the inspectors I know of units coming off the production floor.
Wow.
And, that was kind of dicey because we weren't sure how that was going to work. But when the customer says, I'm not signing for this thing till this guy goes through it and tells me what's going on.
Oh. And Al Pierce says the same thing. Half of his inspections this year have been at dealerships. Now, in Rob's case, if Rob would just be able to answer this, I'll ask this question out loud. Rob, with the RV industry right now experiencing unprecedented growth in numbers, are you seeing issues new units that are a result of this? Let me just say, speeding up the assembly line to get the units out there. And are these easy things to fix? And are they issues that, if they weren't looked at, could cause catastrophic issues down the road? And I know I've asked you too many questions to write, but Terry, maybe you've seen, maybe you know the answer to that same question.
Rob has a good handle on it. He really does. I mean, I know he had one of the factories, one of the guys, the managers pulled him aside and said, you're doing what needs to be done. Help us raise the standard. Because guys, when I worked on the production line, we didn't really know what the end result was. When the unit left us, we didn't know how it worked or didn't really work, because we never really got feedback from the customer. So I think we'll start to see some major changes in our industry, because the industry realizes the only way we're going to grow is, one, we have the communication between the consumer feeding it back to the manufacturer saying, hey, this is not working and this is not a good layout for me. And then, beginning to get some of these technicians trained that understand how these things work, because it's amazing to me. I'll go into some of these shops and do some training, because that's what I've done a lot of. When in between some of the things I do at the RV parks, I'll go in to do private training with dealerships. And a lot of these guys, the guy was a carpenter last week. He's got good work ethic, but he doesn't understand electrical. He doesn't understand the propane. And so they want to do a good job. They just need somebody to give them some insight and give them some help and hands-on experience.
And it's a good point. As we've been going around doing our awesome August videos, we've been giving all of our dealers a copy of Mark and Don's book called the RV Book. Mark just did the 6th edition. And what I found absolutely amazing was the number of dealers, God bless them, that took a look at the book and they said, you know what? I'm going to have my technicians read this. I'm going to have all my salespeople read this. The book's been out there for a number of years. So we can do so much better on education and training across the board, not just on the programs that you're doing or the online videos and the books that Don and Mark are putting out there, or the stuff that funds it. There's enough room for everybody, and I'm really glad that the deal, the RVIA addressing it with the RV Technical Institute and some of the programs. I'm going out on August 29th. I'm on one of those task forces. I'm really looking forward to it, to see how the RV Tech Institute is coming about, and then there'll be regional ones. So history was made when the board of directors and the key players of the industry stepped up and said, we will commit $10 million. History was made, folks. Yeah. We're going to, yes, it's going to take a while to get the ship to turn. It's going to turn. We need to be where the automobile industry is, and we can get there, but it's going to take that kind of commitment.
Look, you guys have been in the industry longer than me, but I'm looking at it from a layman's perspective and also an owner's perspective, and now a journalist's perspective as well. But doesn't everybody in the industry benefit if people have better customer experiences? And if that customer experience is influenced by getting a unit that is tip-top, 100% operative by the time it gets to the dealership, and then 100% operative by the time it gets to the owner, then you don't hear these horror stories. I was 10 miles away from the dealership on my first day, and I brought it back, and they said I had to wait, 5 weeks for a part to come in. That's crazy.
And Mark brings up a good point there, and this is where the education goes deep into the dealership. Is they should go through unfortunately, in a lot of cases, the dealers have to do another QC after the manufacturer's QC, but then the dealer has to follow that with an effective PDI for these people to leave very comfortable and understanding what they do. And just think about it: if we give them a little bit better quality and we do a good QC and we do a good PDI, and if they're handy and they go out and they buy your RV Tech course or one of Mark's courses, we're going to have customers that know what they're doing, right. and that's going to lessen the burdens, because we're very quick to say we need more technicians, we need bigger buildings, we need more service bays. Well, I don't disagree with that, but I do. Educated people. If we train the technicians better, if we build them better, train the technicians better, diagnose them quicker, fix them the right way, we're going to have a lot more happy customers.
But, you know, gentlemen, here's our dilemma, though, and I see it, you know, out there. You go into a shop, and the guy is supposed to be doing a QC, but he doesn't know what he's looking for.
Right.
I mean, what do you do when you go into a shop that's got, say, 15 technicians, and there's not even a single gas pressure tester called a manometer? How can they sign off on there not being any propane leaks if they don't have the test apparatus to find out?
Yeah.
And then have they done a hot skin test? I mean, there are situations we have where somebody drove a staple or a screw through a wire, and you get a hold of that door handle and you wet your pants, you know? But if you don't know what you're looking for, how do you do it? And so this thing is, yes, we got to start at the base. We've got to train the technicians, and it will travel up the stream. It will. And that's why I was so encouraged when I saw the Training Institute being put together. I know it's going to be a slow process. I know, but you know what? If we don't, our industry won't survive. We have to do this. Mm. It's going to be a little brutal at first. The waters are going to be a little rocky, but there is room for everybody at the table. You know, Phil Ingrassi probably said from RVDA probably said it better than anybody else. There's room for all these different training programs. People learn differently, and so the thing we've got to do is we just got to get it in front of technicians.
Yep. Hey guys, let me just mention one thing here. We've got a lot of new viewers tonight, and we'd like to ask you now to do us a special favor. If you like the content that you've seen tonight, down depending upon what unit you're watching on, whether it's a laptop or whether it's a phone, there's a share button. Just take a second to share it, and if you share it and like it, we'll like it even more, because you know what, we're over 10,000 viewers with our Facebook page, and it's a significant number, but we want to bring more people in. And if you have a suggestion for a future guest, we'd love to hear from you with that. And even though 99% of our views come from the replay, Bob and I go through these comments for about 10 days after the viewpoint, after it's posted, and we respond to your comments there as well. So if there's someone that you want to suggest that you think would be of general interest to an wide group of RVers, we're more than happy to hear. Terry even mentioned somebody earlier that would be a good guest for us, and some of our best guests so far have come right from suggestions from this group.
Right, and the sharing becomes important because all of our shows are archived on this page. So if you look over on the left-hand side, it says videos. You can see all of our videos there. And for most of our videos, within 24 hours of closing the show, it's approaching 1,000 views. And within a week, we get between 3,000 and 6,000 views. So the real impact of the show is the people who are kind enough to dial in when we're live, but then they get out and they push it out to their Good Sam chapter, push it out to their escapees people. Terry, you push it out to your audience and your technicians, and people start talking about it. I think that's the greatest joy that John and I get from this, is this 1 hour becomes so critical for people to do that.
This 1 hour was 1/2 hour, but because of comments with our audience, it's turned into an hour show, even though we promote it as a half-hour show. And Bob, one of the things that we failed to mention yet, that I'm sure that you said it right now, and Bob and I are not even in the same building. We're 40 miles from each other. This is probably going to be headline news tomorrow on RV Daily Report. If they don't do a special bulletin tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern time, to hot off the press, you got to grab it before CNN or Fox or any of the networks grab it. But one of your other areas is RV Daily Report, and tell us about how you're doing with that.
Well, we didn't buy it to be one of the other magazines. So what you're beginning to see, we're slowly turning it to become more of a consumer campground type magazine. But we also need to tie in the dealers and manufacturers, because, it's the whole market. So, and I want to extend this out to all of you folks, that if you are a writer, you have articles you'd like to publish, reach out to us. And And quite honestly, I can't say that we can publish everybody's stuff because some stuff comes in is kind of like, are you sure you want this to go out there and your name on it? But the reason why we purchased RV Daily Report, Greg Gerber had done a fabulous job, but he had reached the point to where he was tired. I mean, we still have him on board. He writes fabulous, but he just needed to catch his breath. But it just didn't make sense to let this thing slip by the wayside when it's got so much potential. And so RV Daily Report was bought so we can talk about it because, folks, we are the industry. We are the fraternity. And if we don't look after this industry, it won't grow. And there goes our future. So I know that's my little soapbox, but folks, we got to look after our little golden egg here. And so everybody can benefit. There's room for everybody at the table.
Well, you've done a great job with these programs, and tell us a little bit about the role that Lady E plays, because she's back there in the back, and she's not going to come out.
Now, guys,
huh?
You're gonna get me to bind here.
Wait a minute. If we can pick on Don Polk every week, which we do, and
we do,
and we've gone through a whole show and you haven't even mentioned vegetables, then we ought to be able to pick on Lady E. But tell us the role that she plays, because you guys go out and do shows, and give her a little plug.
She, had written the RV Centennial Cookbook that was adopted by RVIA. Come on, Lady E.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, she's coming. Oh,
no, you've already committed yourself now.
What was that?
But this is one of the manufacturers pulled us aside and said, guys, and they called us and said, would you be willing to work with us and be an ambassador and come to RV shows and do things with us? And I'm thinking they're talking technical, right? And then they say, but we'd really like to have Lady E involved because most of our buyers has a very, very heavy lady influence because they're usually the purse keepers. And let's face it, like the guy told me, he said, most of these units are developed by men, designed by men, and they're not family friendly, or maybe not, friendly for the lifestyle. So she has taken that role and really run with it because of her past. She used to be a restaurant owner. And so when we married, and yes, guys, you might as well know it, we met on Match.com. Okay, just go ahead and blow it out here. We went on this blind date at Applebee's, and we were carrying on, and I was thinking, okay, another blind date, whoopee-doo. And then she began to talk RVnese. She could talk RVs, and I'm thinking, wow, this lady's got some moxie here. She's, woo, all right. And so next thing you know, she began to tell me, well, I'm living full-time in a fifth wheel. I'm thinking, hey, there's something here. And so things progressed. And so when she asked me, because I had really gotten weary of the school, she asked me, she said, what, if you could do anything you wanted to do, what would you like to do? I said, I really enjoy teaching. And so, guys, like I told you, I married up because I've got a lady who says, okay, let's go do it. And it's kind of like, once you open your mouth, you better be prepared to jump in. And so she's been a big support, a big push. And so we'll do seminars at RV shows, rallies, and things like that. And, I'll look out there and there's 50, 100 people in my group, and I look over there and there's no chairs available in hers. I'm thinking, excuse me, but that's just the way it is.
Well, look, we're coming up on an hour. We told everybody we'd definitely cut it at the hour. And Cooper, I really want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. A lot of great information, but if people wanted to get a hold of you, where, which is your preferred website or your email address or whatever?
Well, let's do this. Let me just give you the Mobile RV Academy. And if you'll just send it to Mobile RV Academy, that's really been, that's who pays our bills, is mobilervacademy.com. And tell you what, let's do. Lady E is kind of my filter. So if you'll send it to Lady E Cooper at mobilervacademy.com.
Oh, okay. Let me do that again. Okay.
Lady E Cooper at Mobile RV Academy. I mean, I can give you a whole string of others and all the other.
You know what? If you would send them to us, we go back and we add more notes.
Okay.
These notes after the show. Get this up here. I think I got it right.
You know what? There's so many great comments that our viewers have made tonight as well. And
we will go back and answer all those comments. And we have to get vegetables into every show. Now, Cooper, it's not that we eat the vegetables. We're the meat eaters. So I don't know where Lady E comes down on meat versus vegetables, but
they're in Texas.
Huh?
They're in Texas.
She's a rancher's daughter, guys. Do I need to say any more than
They're
that?
in Texas. They're carnivores down there. They probably even have beef flavored ice cream.
Oh dear.
They probably even, you know what? I would venture to say they probably even have beef flavored vegetables in Texas.
Well, you always put beef jerky over everything. Yes, that's right.
Beef flavored elephant ears.
That's how we can tell if Dawn's with us. Just talk about food.
We can do that.
Hey, we got to wrap this up. We're over our hour.
Cooper, I'll give you. John, do you have any closing?
No, I just thought this was a fascinating time, and you know what? It shows that if everybody works together, manufacturers, dealers, and the owners get together, and somehow there's another third party thrown in, or fourth or fifth party thrown in, then you got a better unit. And when you have better units, you have happy customers. Happy customers buy more units, and they rinse and repeat and do the cycle all over again. And then everybody wins.
That's it. Cooper, I'll give you the last word.
Folks, thank you for the opportunity. And you know what? If we'll take care of this business, it'll take care of us.
Good point. All right, guys. Good night. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.